give an update about what's going on with the Excellence Foundation. Now, we talked about this on the show a couple months ago. In particular, we're talking about William Parfait. He's one of the primary donors to this foundation, which is a $70 million grant to the city. It's basically going to replace our city budget model with one based on philanthropy and donation. Right now, there's two primary donors, William Johnson and William Parfait. Parfait is somebody of note because he used to be on the board of Monsanto, used to be the chair of Rick Snyder's Political Action Committee, and MPI Research, which has had a lot of animal rights abuse allegations levied against them. He was also embroiled in a lawsuit which was proven fairly correct. He fathered two children with a woman who he abused for several years. You can that episode is a couple months back. I will put a link to it on this episode when I upload it to Facebook. So one of the big issues around this foundation has been talking about transparency and citizen control, because what we're essentially talking about doing is giving tremendous financial leverage to a couple of very wealthy individuals, and the concern is making sure there's enough safeguards therein. And I will give kudos to the commission. The Imagine Kalamazoo idea that they laid out, and they did debate about this quite voraciously, was how exactly the foundation is going to be controlled. Now, part of their proposal that they put out, and one of the problems with this is they only had it available an hour before the meeting. There's been a real issue with basically educating the public about this foundation. There's a sense by a lot of activists in the community, including myself, that there really hasn't been enough to engage the community, and this is really being kind of pushed through fast. Now, to their credit, they pushed it off. They were going to vote on the incorporation document, which is going to be like all of the articles in incorporation are going to be like kind of the bylaws and the guidelines for the foundation as it's formed. And they've put that off to August 21st. And they do have some language in there that is somewhat reassuring. So in the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence documents, it says that the city of Kalamazoo shall not provide support of any kind, direct or indirect, to any other person, business, entity, corporation, or organization. The board is going to be made up of 13 members. Well, potentially. They have time to work on this. And right now, 7 have to be city residents. And it's 5 of them are going to be people who work. 4 of them are people in the city. And then 8 are going to be... It's 5 people who work on the city commission and 8 individuals from the community, which they're debating about. They want to switch it to 9 so that there could be a super majority. That's something that's in the air right now. And those 8 positions are stakeholders, and that's for, when they say stakeholders, that means particular issues. So education, healthcare, the neighborhoods, business, art, and faith. Now, who's going to select this is the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. So, that's another red flag to me right there, because I really think it needs to be more transparent, maybe even somehow tied into our city elections. And for their part, Commissioner Shannon Sykes wants more citizen representation on the board, specifically the individual neighborhoods, and both. Generally all of them, but Cooney and Aaron Knott. Don Cooney is the vice mayor, Aaron Knott is commissioner. Wanted to make sure there was an emphasis on involving low-income residents. And one of the things that came up was we were talking about, they talked about restricted gifts, which is the idea that somebody could donate money and say, I want this money to be for this thing. The original framework of it was around, no strings attached. So you donate the money, and the idea is this is at the dispersal of the Imagine Kalamazoo group. This is what it ideally needs to be about, and that's something the citizens really need to push for, and it's also something Matt Milzarek brought up, Commissioner, emphasizing no strings attached, so that donors can't dictate how the funds are used, and that is very, very important. So, in a nutshell, I was there at the meeting, and here's what I think they've got going good for them. The actual Imagine Kalamazoo framework is very solid. It does lend itself to the kind of citizen input that I was really hoping for and pushing for since the beginning, and. But one of the problems is there's still not a lot of concrete legal language around transparency. And you could tell even from the discussions there on the board that that they were really jockeying back and forth about how to enshrine this program so that it does not become system to abuse, because for me, there's an innate skepticism that comes in. I come out of a big money organizing. So we watchdog Congress people. We look at where money is going to and from. I marched with Democracy Spring last year, which was this huge undertaking to basically protest the corrupting influence of big money in our political system. And what I see here is the potential for a great potential for abuse and control. Because anytime you have that kind of money coming from just a handful of sources, there's always going to be that potential for abuse. And if we don't get those legal safeguards in right now, there's no telling where it could go in the future. And of course, all those things being said, the only thing that's really going to prevent abuse or corruption in this foundation, or one or two very wealthy people exercising disproportionate control of the city, is going to be educating the people of the city and making sure that there's a prolonged group of folks who are watchdogging this foundation and making sure it doesn't go astray. See, I don't like it. I would prefer if we went back to the original option on the table, which had to do with basically having like a progressive income tax. And but alas, these are the way things are. I did want to give a shout out to a colleague, Chris Wamoff. He was attempting to do a campaign for the mayor of Kalamazoo. He wasn't able to get enough signatures in time to get on the ballot. However, he was planning to kind of run around this particular issue. And I wanted to read a little bit from what he said. He said, "I feel like the process is mishandled. I question the transparency, and when I look at Bill Parfett, I question anything from Governor Rick Snyder's sugar daddy." That's more or less, it's kind of a colloquial way to describe Mr. Parfett, but that's about right. And he was talking about how he thinks a lot of the people outside of city government and communities like Northside and Edison and Vine, really don't feel like they have their voice listened to by the city government or by the mayor. And I would definitely say for something like the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence, that is certainly going to have to change. So that's where we're at with it, folks. There are people on the commission who are really trying to, get this as watertight as possible. But at the same time, you can never be too careful when such wealth is at play. And, we're going to have to really keep a very close eye on this foundation. All right, we're going to take a quick